With the Spring to Life update now behind us, we can imagine what if it contained twice as many new features with even more added to further make the biomes come alive. Hey yo, I'm Creato, and today we're taking a look at 21 features that should have been added to the Spring to Life update to really take it up a level and make it the best overworld update ever. Let's start with the Moobloom, which will be the most perfect mob to be added to this game drop, especially since it's been waiting years to be added, which only further makes the Spring drop update the perfect time for it to finally get added. Mooblooms would be able to spawn in flower forests or meadow biomes, and would be the first exclusive mob to spawn in either of those biomes. Plus, Mooblooms could also spawn in different variants to match all of the different flower colors as well. This would give even more variety to the Moobloom if it could match the different flower colors, and maybe even have the possibility for a special reward if a Moobloom was fed the same flower that it matches. And there could also be more mushroom variants added that could be placed on the sides of trees in the forests. This would give a much more interesting look to all of the trees, since there's currently nothing that grows on the sides of them. And it would also expand the mushroom family beyond the same two mushroom variants we've had for years. Plus, the shelf mushrooms could also generate in most of the forests where it would make sense, so that even more of the forest biomes can be improved with mushroom variants. And it would offer a new way for plants, or mushrooms in this case, to grow on the sides of blocks instead of on the top like all the other flowers and bushes do. Another fun addition to the Spring Drop update would be sheep variants, which would give a new look to each sheep, as well as complete the mob variants for farm animals, since all the others already got their own variants. Just like all of the other animal variants, sheep could also have a warm and cold variant for each biome in addition to a dyed variant for all of the different wool colors a sheep could have. And since sheep would also have more variants because of all the different dye colors, maybe that means there could also be a rare rainbow sheep variant, which would be a fun surprise to find in something like a meadow or flower forest biome. There could also be more flower petals added in different colors, since we only have the pink petals right now. This would give more options on which petals could spawn in which biomes, and would offer a greater variety for each of the forest biomes. And it would also look really nice to see the petals expanded beyond just the pink petals, so that there could be different colors to match each of the different forests that they would generate in. Plus, this would also give more options to use for decoration, since with more colors would also come more uses, as well as different ways to craft all of the dye colors by using petals instead of flowers. And squirrels would also make a really good addition, since they would like to run around and climb up all of the trees. And squirrels could also have their own variants too, with some of them being darker and some of them having a spotted pattern as another way to bring in more variety to the forests. And maybe squirrels could also bring a new bush type, like a peanut bush or acorns, since squirrels would need something to eat, and a new bush type would make the perfect companion for squirrels. This would just be a way to make squirrels something a bit more than just ambience. Since if they were to bring in a new bush type, not only would that add a bush to forest, but it would also give squirrels a fun way to interact with the bushes. And squirrels could also have a fun behavior of being able to climb up and down the trees, so that you'd be able to walk around the forest and see all the squirrels quickly running around the place. And another ambient mob would be butterflies, which would spawn in large groups and could fly around the forest biome together. Butterflies would also love to sit around the flowers and could maybe have a special behavior with them. Maybe if you were to hold a flower, all of the butterflies could follow you, so that you could also walk around with a large group of butterflies flying around the place. But the main purpose for the butterflies would be to just fly around on their own, since watching all of them fly around would give off some really nice forest ambience, which is exactly what the forest needs. And with lots of butterflies flying around, it would help a lot to make the forest feel more alive, since butterflies are probably the most simple yet impactful mob that could be added to improve the forest biome experience. Also, if you're enjoying the video, please make sure to leave a like and hit subscribe, as all your support really means a lot. The swamp biome could have so much more added to it to really help give it that swampy and murky feel, with more plants that could generate along and inside the water. There could be things added like cattails that generate inside the water and stick out, and also different sized lily pads with some that even have flowers on them. And there could also be a new dragonfly mob added that would be purely for ambience and would fly around the water in the swamp biomes. And maybe the dragonflies could also make the perfect snack for the frogs, so that you can watch the frogs try and chase down a dragonfly. Plus, with more swamp plants added, that would not only give the swamp more plant life, but also give more space for the frogs to hop around. And maybe even somewhere for a firefly mob to live in, since they could still be added as a mob that can freely fly around the swampy night skies. And as for the snowy biomes, there's also so much that could be added to them, like a frozen variant of grass that could also be fully covered by snow, to give the feel that everything in the snowy biomes are covered by the snow. And there could also be a new snowy flower added so that it would match the look of all of the other cold and snowy plants in the biomes like the snowy taiga and snowy plains. This would really help to make you feel like everything is covered by snow, since the new snowy plant variants would have snow below them, unlike the way the current grass and flowers can't be placed on snow. And this could be taken even further with the addition of icicles that could be found hanging below the trees. This would help to give an icy sort of feel to the cold biomes as well, which would go perfectly along with the addition of the new snowy plant variants. There could also be more flowers added along with the ability for them to spawn in greater amounts, so that you could be able to find giant fields of flowers in many different colors. This would make all of the flowers much easier to find and collect, so that you can go through them and pick out the ones you like most. And with so many new flowers added along with them spawning in a much more packed area, that could also mean that flowers would now produce pollen, which could spread onto the blocks around and give off lots of little pollen particles that float around the air. This would be a nice little touch to places with lots of flowers, while also helping to improve the biome experience. And flowers could also be changed to be able to be placed in groups, so that even more of them could be placed in an area, which means even more flowers in the flower forests and other biomes. And there could be even more flying mobs with the addition of new types of birds that could fly around and live in the forests. Forest birds would be able to spawn in all sorts of different colors to give lots of variety to the way birds spawn, so that you would be able to walk around the forest and see all of the different colors of birds. And not only would it be fun to look at all the birds flying around, but it would also really help with the ambience of the forest biomes, since birds are probably the most simple mob that could be added to the forests. This would really help a lot to bring in more life to the forest biome, which is one of the most common biomes that has the most potential for new types of mobs. And another mob that could be interactive with the environment could be owls, which could be a forest mob that would only spawn during the nighttime. This would make owls a bit tricky to find since you would have to wait for night, and then you would have to walk around in the dark trying to find one. But maybe owls could also have their own ambient sounds as well, so that there would be some nighttime owl sounds as you walk around the forest during night. And owls could also have their own variants as well, with a white variant that would spawn in the snowy forest biomes. This would help to give more variety to the owls, while also giving them a different look for each of the biomes they could spawn in. There could also be even more berries and bushes added, since all we have right now is the sweet berry bush. And with more berries being added, that would mean there would be more colors of berries that could grow on the different types of berry bushes. And with more types of berries, that could also mean more types of foods are added, like blueberry pie made from blueberries or lime pie made from the lime berries. This would help to give some more uses to the berry bushes beyond just spawning around the forest, since berries could be much more than just a bush. But even as just a bush, the berries help to add some color to the forest biomes, while also being a fun new plant that could spawn in different colors and variants based on the biome it's in. The desert biome could also get even more added to it, since there are still some features from old biome votes that could make their way in. This includes a much better desert landscape with some palm trees, as well as a new meerkat mob that would spawn exclusively in the desert biome. Meerkats would be a playful mob that like to run around, and maybe they could be fed with something like a fish and would reveal the location of the nearest desert temple or buried treasure. This would be a different way to find some of the desert structures instead of searching yourself, as well as an opportunity to bring in a fun and playful mob to the desert biome. The Badlands biome could also get some new features, since it also had some features that are still missing from an old biome vote, like tumbleweeds being able to spawn and roll around the ground to give some movement and action to the red sand landscape, as well as a new cactus variant exclusive to the Badlands biome that could have a new prickly pear fruit growing on it. And there could also be a new vulture mob added, which would be the first mob exclusive to the Badlands biome. And vultures would like to fly around the skies of the Badlands biome, and also occasionally swoop down and pick up any item that may be laying on the ground. This would give them a new mechanic no other mob has, as well as provide the perfect ambient mob to fly around the skies and red sand of the Badlands biome. And another mob that brings life to a biome in need would be crabs, which would spawn in mangrove swamps, making them the first exclusive mob to spawn here. And crabs would be able to walk sideways, as well as on the side of blocks, which would be another unique ability they have. Plus, the addition of crabs would also come with a new item, which would be their crab claw that can help you place blocks further whenever it's equipped in your offhand. This would mean that not only would crabs walk around the mangrove swamp, but they would also bring in a new ability to use, which makes them a really good addition to the mangrove swamp. And another mob that would make a good addition to a biome would be deer, which would spawn in forest biomes so that some unique mobs could live there. And deers would have their own variants as well, with one type of deer having antlers on its head, while the other variant wouldn't have any. This would mean that deers would be much more noticeable since they would be quite a bit bigger than the other mobs. And since deers are a larger mob, that would mean they could also be breedable, which means there would also be baby deers running around the forests. This would make it so that there would be even more types of deers, which helps to add more variety to each mob that gets added. And another mob that could roam the forest could be bears, which would be the biggest mobs in forests, and also the mob that makes the most sense to live in forests. And since bears love honey so much, maybe they could have a special interaction with beehives, like being able to collect them and drop the honey on the ground. This would be an interesting way for bears to be able to interact with the environment while also connecting them to an already existing feature with the beehives. And bears could also be breedable, so that they can make some baby bears, which would be really playful and love to run and jump around. And maybe the baby bears could also have their own interaction with beehives by trying to reach them up in the trees. This would be another way to make the bears more interesting, since they would for sure be the biggest mob that spawns in forests while also having the most potential to have the most unique features. And another biome update could also be done to the savanna biome, which would get all of the features it's been missing for years, like the new baobab trees, which are giant and tall trees that spawn around the savanna. Plus, there would also be a new ostrich mob added, which would make it the first mob that spawns exclusively in the savanna biome. Ostriches could be similar to horses, since ostriches would be able to be equipped with a saddle and ridden around. And maybe ostriches could run faster than horses, but not be able to jump as high. And there would also be termite mounds that spawn around the savanna biome and slowly eat away at the grass and trees surrounding the mound. This would make termites the perfect food source for the ostriches while also bringing in 2 new mobs to the savanna biome. And there could also be new leaf litter variants added with more items on the different types of leaf litter. This would include things like sticks and flowers in the leaf litter, which makes it look like all of those items have fallen from the trees. This would be a subtle touch, but it really adds a lot to the atmosphere because it makes it feel like the items are actually able to move and interact with the environment. And along with the different item types in the leaf litter, there could also be completely new colors of leaf litter added, like red and orange, which would add even more variety to the leaf litter while also giving different colors to match the temperature of each biome. And going back to some smaller mob ideas, maybe hedgehogs could also get added, since they would be a perfect little mob to walk around the forest biome. Hedgehogs could be purely for ambience, since all they like to do is simply walk around and live their best lives in the forest. This would mean that each time you're walking around a forest biome, you would have the chance to come across a small group of hedgehogs traveling together. And maybe hedgehogs could also be breedable as well, so that they can have a little baby hedgehog following them around the forest. This would help to complete the little hedgehog family, so that there would also be a bit more variety to them. And maybe there could be a bit more to the hedgehogs, like watching them sleep during the daytime, or maybe being able to feed them with a special item. This would just be a few ways to add an interactive element to the hedgehogs, so you can do something with them as they're all walking around the forest. And another smaller mob that could also live in forests are beavers, which would like to walk around the forest biome, but also have a bit more interesting behaviors compared to the other mobs. Maybe beavers could also be able to swim in the rivers near forests, since beavers also love to swim around. This would mean that each time you're walking around a forest biome, you would have the chance to come across a small group of hedgehogs traveling together. And maybe beavers could also have some interesting interaction with the trees, since beavers love to chew on logs as well. Maybe beavers would be able to slowly chip away at the logs and drop each log as an item on the ground, so you can pass by and collect it whenever you find one. This would have to be a very slow process, though, since otherwise the beavers would tear down the entire forest by themselves. But it's just a way to make the beavers a bit more interactive with the forest environment around them. So what do you think about everything that was added in the Spring to Life drop? Was there anything you really wanted to see get added, but didn't make the cut? Or do you think that some Spring to Life features could still be added in a different update? That's a wrap for today. Don't forget to leave a like and hit subscribe, and also comment Spring to Life forever if you made it this far. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.